Tonight on NewsWatch, audit the IRS, why members of the Tea Party gathered in Washington to protest the government. Plus, violence as the U.S. leads a push for peace in Afghanistan. Will talks with the Taliban help? And a Wounded Warrior project from an actor who played one on the big screen. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Martin. After special targeting by the IRS, Tea Party groups gathered on Capitol Hill today to say it's time for Americans to target the tax agency. Thousands rallied for an event they called Audit the IRS. Paul Strand has tonight's top story.
Capitol Hill flooded with Tea Party types upset about the IRS targeting groups like theirs for special scrutiny and what some would call harassment.
Horribly offended. Wouldn't matter if it was just conservative groups. Everybody should be concerned about it because it takes away our liberties no matter who you are.
Even the liberals need to start standing up because they're taking away our rights one after another.
Who will stand up and speak if we all don't stand together? Whenever any one of us is targeted, we should all be concerned.
This surpasses left and right. This is American citizens versus big government.
Becky Garrettson became a new Tea Party hero when she went before Congress a few days ago to say Washington politicians aren't in charge of this country.
They have forgotten their place. They act like lords over us and treat us like we're the serfs, and they need to get that back in balance.
Larry Nordvig, Richmond Tea Party executive director, said the IRS wrapped his group up in knots for more than 2 years just before the crucial 2012 election.
We were messing around with the IRS and producing 500 plus pages of documents instead of being out there advocating and educating, which is what our mission is. So it knocked us off mission during the election cycle.
Jenny Beth Martin's Tea Party Patriots organized this rally.
The Constitution is designed to constrain the government. This knowledge in the hands of free people is a threat to those who lust for power and authority.
I feel what the Obama administration has done is essentially McCarthyism of the left. And not only that, it is combined with the mob politics of Chicago.
And if this broad federal government can track every phone call, if they can track every internet activity you have, if they can track your credit card, if they can track your cell phone, and if the IRS then can have a software package to focus their enforcement on the enemies of the President of the United States, this big brother has gotten a lot creepier than George Orwell thought it would ever get.
The main message from these protesters seemed to be, this time around, Tea Party, Christian, and conservative groups might have been targeted, but all Americans have to be on guard about all their liberties because we all rise and fall as Americans together. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Capitol Hill.
The IRS is about to pay $70 million in bonuses, despite a White House directive to cancel discretionary bonuses because of automatic spending cuts. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa says the bonuses should be canceled. He says the IRS always claims to be short on resources, but has $70 million for union bonuses. The IRS says it's negotiating with the employees' union on the issue. The House of Representatives has passed a measure that bans all abortions after 20 weeks. Republican leaders took up the bill after the case of Kermit Gosnell, the Philadelphia abortionist sentenced to life in prison for murdering 3 babies born alive. Republicans talked about the pain unborn babies feel during an abortion.
But what happens in a midterm or later pregnancy when there is an abortion? What happens is just absolute torture. This bill is not just about abortion. This is about pain. It's about torture to that young life. And we can't say that this is like an amputation of a limb.
Once again, Republicans have decided to make women's health a battleground as part of their, yes, ongoing war on women. The bill on the floor this week is nothing more than a direct challenge to Roe versus Wade.
A woman is exempt if her life is threatened or the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest. The Democrat-led Senate plans to ignore the bill, and the White House has already threatened to veto it. For more on this, we turn now to Allison Howard of Concerned Women for America. Allison, now that it's passed the House, this bill doesn't have much of a chance to survive, but why was it an important measure to get through?
Well, thanks for having me to talk about this important issue. The pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act passing in the House yesterday was monumental. H.R. 1797 got women legislators and women leaders on the floor, taking their place in history, finally able to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, but those that we know scientifically can feel pain. I think what we saw in Philadelphia and other states like West Virginia, Maryland, and the House of Horrors that we saw in the Gosnell case opened up this discussion and changed the debate about what abortion really looks like in our country. And the American people wanted action, and the House did that just yesterday.
Many say this measure is just conservatives waging war on women. What do you think?
That's such a tired talking point, isn't it? The war on women is the fact that there are people out there that prey on women by offering them late-term abortions that are dangerous and that we know these babies can feel pain. What we see on a national level here is being able to talk about what an abortion looks like within the womb, because unfortunately we got to see what an abortion looks like outside the womb. And so H.R. 1797 was a monumental piece of legislation because finally we can take back the conversation from being abortion on demand to being common sense. The majority of Americans agree with common sense regulations on abortions, like late-term abortions we're talking about here. And I think it's important to notice that 20 weeks is 5 months. 5 months along. And when you make that comparison to people, it's really hard to stick to that's being a war on women. It's a war on little girls in the womb. We know that. And that's important to think about in this discussion.
Allison, did this measure set the stage for a bigger showdown to try and overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, the fight goes to the Senate now. Just because the House passed it doesn't mean that we're going to see this enacted. I think the same energy behind H.R. 1797 in the House is going to be seen in the Senate. People that have never before called their congressman called yesterday and Monday because they saw how hugely important this vote was. And we applaud all of the legislators and all of the leaders who took their place in history and spoke up about this. I think you're going to see a huge influx of people catalyzing and pushing the Senate to pass a similar bill. We hope and pray they do. We know that for lack of knowledge, a people perish. And no one can any longer say that they didn't know. We now know, and action is being taken.
Okay, Allison Howard, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
In other news, President Obama said today it's important for the country to strike a balance between security and personal freedom. That as the debate continues over the NSA surveillance techniques. Civil liberties groups say the government has gone too far, snooping on phone calls, storing emails, monitoring any other form of electronic communication. But government and NSA officials say it's a necessary trade-off to keep the U.S. safe, and they point out that it's been working. More than 50 terror attacks have been stopped because of NSA spy programs.
These tools have helped us. The FBI disrupted and arrested these individuals.
The question is not simply whether plots were disrupted, but whether to disrupt those plots we need to engage in dragnet surveillance.
Oops.
A new ABC News Washington Post poll finds 58% of Americans support the NSA programs, and Americans are split on whether they feel Edward Snowden committed a crime by leaking information about them. The Fed says it will continue to keep long-term interest rates at record lows by buying $85 billion in monthly bonds. In a statement today, Ben Bernanke hinted at moving closer to reducing the stimulus, but did not indicate when that might happen. In the meantime, the Federal Reserve will continue to buy monthly bonds in order to prop up economic recovery, at least until unemployment reaches 6.5%. A majority of federal officials do not expect a hike in interest rates until 2015. President Obama wants to reduce the world's nuclear stockpiles. During a speech in Germany, Obama called on the U.S. and Russia to embrace the spirit that Berlin displayed when it fought to reunite during the Cold War.
We can ensure the security of America and our allies and maintain a strong and credible strategic deterrent while reducing our deployed strategic nuclear weapons by up to 1/3. For throughout all this history,
the president also renewed his call to tackle climate change, calling it the global threat of our time. The White House says it will begin talks with the Taliban about ending the war in Afghanistan. This is Afghan forces for the first time assume security control over their own country. George Thomas has the details.
President Obama says talks with the Taliban are an important step towards reconciliation and future peace in Afghanistan.
Although it's a very early step, we anticipate there will be a lot of bumps in the road.
The U.S. wants the Taliban to renounce ties with al-Qaeda, back the Afghan constitution, and help protect women and minority groups. In exchange, the Taliban wants the U.S. to release prisoners from Guantanamo Bay and all foreign forces out of Afghanistan. Not exactly an easy set of conditions to meet.
I want to repeat, we don't anticipate this process will be easy or quick, but we must pursue it.
Hours after announcing the U.S.-Taliban talks, Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai said he wanted no part in it, insisting that any discussions with Taliban insurgents must be Afghan-led and not U.S.-led. All this talk of negotiations didn't stop the Taliban from killing 4 U.S. soldiers at an airbase outside Kabul Tuesday. Several more were injured in the attack. The Taliban is an Islamic radical group that ruled Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001. It believes in practicing a strict form of Islam where women are veiled, men grow their beards, and those caught stealing or committing adultery must be publicly executed or have their hands amputated. Meanwhile, after 12 years of leading the charge, American forces are now taking a back seat in Afghanistan.
We will follow the orders of the Afghan army, absolutely.
It's a big change.
It's a good change.
Afghan soldiers and police took official control of protecting their own country this week as the United States aims to withdraw all its forces by next year. George Thomas, CBN News.
Coming up, how some in the medical field are trying to change the way obesity is viewed.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the Spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Remember the happy days when he said everyone gets health insurance. But now, Congress says 7 million Americans will lose their health insurance, and your insurance rates could increase by 200%. Some health plans even get hit with a 40% tax and over $700 billion in Medicare cuts. So now we're really sad. But you can be happy again by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller, and over 500,000 Americans have gotten a copy. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. You can get your copy at Obamacare911.com. It gives you the tips, strategies, and loopholes you need to know. Get your copy of the Obamacare Survival Guide at stores everywhere for $19.95, or get the internet-only offer of just $4.95 and save $15. Go to Obamacare911.com to claim your copy now.
Welcome back. The American Medical Association now recognizes obesity as a disease. The group says the move will help change the way the medical community tackles this complex issue that affects approximately 1 in 3 Americans. The number of obese adults more than doubled from 1980 to 2010, and analysts believe that if trends continue, the percentage of obese Americans could rise from 36% today to 42% by the year 2030. And it's not only affecting adults, the number of obese children has tripled since the 1980s. Lifestyle changes can reverse the epidemic, but as Lori Johnson reports, solving the problem is often a project for entire families.
Today, 1 in 5 children is obese and as a result is nearly certain to have serious medical problems in the future, like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer.
If you look at children who are overweight at the ages of 10 to 12, 80% of those children will become overweight adults. And so we've got to intervene on these children before they hit teenagers. We've got to intervene at the earliest age we can pick them up.
First Lady Michelle Obama has her Let's Move campaign, and celebrity chef Jamie Oliver convinced some school districts to lighten their lunches. And while those are steps in the right direction, a child's best chance for reaching and maintaining a healthy weight is when their parents are on board.
I would say that the majority of children that we see in the office who are overweight have overweight parents. And it becomes an issue that we're trying to treat the whole family.
Doctors recommend every family member observe the same rules, starting with no eating while watching TV, playing video games, or on the computer, and limiting that type of screen time to 1 hour a day. Decrease the amount of fried food the family eats, and give up fast food. Decrease the size of portions and the number of portions, while increasing daily exercise. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
The UK's Girl Guides are removing God from their pledge. The long-established British scouting organization took out a reference to loving God. Leaders instead put in a call to, quote, be true to myself and develop my beliefs. Girl Guiding announced the new pledge today. The organization says around 44,000 people weighed in on the decision to change the pledge. The chief guide says she hopes the change will encourage more girls to join. The reference to God had been a part of the pledge since the founding of the Girl Guides in 1910. Up next, how one star is helping troops injured while defending their country.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids! Do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes now.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Thanks for staying with us. For more than a decade, thousands of U.S. troops have been injured fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. Many celebrities work to help our veterans, and one of them that is the most passionate is actor Gary Sinise. I recently talked one-on-one with the film and TV star, a man known by millions as Lieutenant Dan.
Thought I'd try out my sea legs.
Well, you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, I know that.
His portrayal of Vietnam veteran Lieutenant Dan Taylor in Forrest Gump earned him a Best Supporting Actor nomination. On a personal level, it led to Gary Sinise's involvement with the organization Disabled American Veterans and a deep devotion to the well-being of our troops.
Then September 11th came along. We deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. People started getting hurt, and the thought of what happened to our Vietnam veterans happening to our active duty folks today was very difficult for me. It wasn't something I could sit back and let happen again.
So Sinise started visiting American military men and women overseas. Eventually, the actor, who is also a musician, asked the USO if he could take a band on a tour. The USO agreed, and the Lieutenant Dan Band was born.
We're trying to get to every single base around the world before we're done with this journey.
They deserve our attention, our respect, and our gratitude, and whatever we can do for them.
Gary plays the bass in the Lieutenant Dan Band, and on average, they play about 30 to 40 shows a year, with around 75% of those for USO, charities, or benefits.
The VA can only do so much and only does so much. Sometimes the VA can actually make things a little more difficult than it should be for our veterans. So thankfully, there are some good organizations out there in the nonprofit world that are trying to fill those gaps, and that's why I created my foundation.
And the mission of the Gary Sinise Foundation is to serve and honor veterans, first responders, their families, and others in need.
God bless our military!
In addition to morale, the Lieutenant Dan Band is now on its Building for America's Bravest 2013 benefit concert tour. The Gary Sinise Foundation is partnering with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to build smart homes for the most severely injured veterans.
They're run by iPads, they have elevators, they have sensors all around. If you're confined to a wheelchair and you can't reach something, the cupboards can come down to your level and that kind of thing. So we want these warriors to come home and have an opportunity in life to at least be independent within their living space.
We need to take care of you before the battle, we need to take care of you during the battle, and we need to take care of you after the battle and make sure you know that we're grateful for everything you do for us.
And the band will do that in concerts across 10 states. The need is great. According to the Wounded Warrior Project, wars in Iraq and Afghanistan led to physical injuries for more than 50,000 service members. In addition, an estimated 400,000 battle combat-related stress, major depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Marine Staff Sergeant Isaac Zahn is a member of the Wounded Warrior Battalion East.
I was blown up 8 times doing route clearance, and I sustained enough blast injuries where I had to get my right leg amputated below the knee.
Staff Sergeant Zahn is grateful for the efforts of Sinise and his band.
Love it. Everything about it. It's great. My wife was with me, and she's also enjoying it, so it's good.
Marine Gunnery Sergeant David Post also had to get part of a leg amputated, the victim of an improvised explosive device.
My limb was just mangled to the point where there was no recovery. I tried to save it after 1.5 years, and it wasn't working. I had to give it up.
Post says his faith, family, and support groups like the Gary Sinise Foundation are critical in helping him move on with his life.
God core country, and that's the way it works. I do have a family, and I'm Catholic. The support group has been amazing, and that's what it's about. When I feel like I'm down and I can't do anymore, the people around me always bring me back with the help of God.
Sinise says his faith also motivates him to reach out to veterans like Post and Zahn.
I'm Catholic. My wife's a Catholic. We've raised our kids all Catholic. My daughter goes to Catholic school. They've all gone to Catholic school. Service above self is something that's part of the faith, obviously, and it's something that I've just been privileged to learn over the years.
The Wounded Warrior Project says on its website, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Gary Sinise and his foundation agree, wanting to make sure every veteran feels valued.
There is a heavy cost for freedom. and you are our freedom providers.
And they had a great turnout at that concert. And Gary Sinise told the audience he has Vietnam veterans in his family. On his wife's side, her two brothers served in Vietnam. One was a helicopter pilot, the other was a lieutenant, and went back as a captain. Neat guy. Up next, the miraculous story of how a woman found her father after 24 years.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
In Arizona, father and daughter are reunited after 24 years, all because of a shared desire to serve God and others.
I just felt like this is where I needed to be.
I found myself just kind of drawn here.
Amy Robertson always knew she was adopted and had recently started looking for her birth parents. During her search, she says the Lord told her to volunteer at a local homeless shelter. Miraculously, the Lord impressed the same desire on her biological father. The two worked together for an entire year before ever learning the truth.
I knew that I had a daughter, so when I came across her name, for about 6 months, I specifically began praying one specific prayer, and that is, I don't know if she knows Christ, but if you cannot bring me into her life, bring someone who will deliver that gospel message to her.
It's because of my father that I came to have a relationship with Christ.
Wow, it gives you chills. Amy's dad overcame his past addictions and serves as a pastor at the mission. Boy, what a testimony to God answers prayer. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsWatch. Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great night.